This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911. Pursuit by a canine.
You want to get whoever did the shooting.
A cop's attackers are on the run.
They shot a policeman. I'm sure they wouldn't hesitate to shoot the dog.
Are they barking up the wrong tree? Then
Sherelle has gotten into Graham's heart medication.
medicine left in a child's reach
The levels were 4 to 5 times toxic level.
could cost a life.
I didn't think that I'd see her alive again.
On Rescue 911.
Callers and witnesses helped lead the police to the car driven by the man who shot motorcycle cop Mark Sigfrinius. But by the time the first officer got there, the car was empty. And the 3 people who had been in it had already disappeared.
We have the suspect's vehicle with bullet holes in it, 3rd Northwest, Northwest 44. It looks unoccupied at this time.
As I turned the corner, there was the car. The back window was partially blown out. It was just incredible, the amount of citizens that started coming forward. Yeah, I saw them. They were running northbound. I've never seen people run that fast, they said.
I was more than happy to help them. I think every citizen should feel that way. If you see someone doing something wrong, and you can help an officer out, I think you should do it. I think that's part of your duty.
Do you have a dog unit available?
Traffic cop Richard O'Neill put the information out over the radio and called for a canine unit. Officer Mike Gleason and his partner Chase responded.
And there's a lot of adrenaline pumping because you want to get whoever did the shooting. I think it's a little bit different breed of criminal that'll shoot a policeman.
Gleason took Chase directly to the abandoned car to get a scent.
It was a real difficult police dog application. It's the middle of the day. It was in excess of 70 degrees out, bright sunshine. Not the best conditions to try and hunt someone down with a police dog, especially track them down.
Where'd he go? Come on, bud. Chase.
We managed to get a track going or a trail going in a northwest direction.
3 Cuban males that jumped out of their car.
In an incident like this, you want to keep the suspects contained. You want to keep them in the neighborhood, in the area. You don't want them stealing a car or hopping on a bus or getting out of the area. You want to keep them in as close an area as you can.
Tom 56 with more info from a citizen.
An 8-square-block area was cordoned off, and containment officers were stationed around the perimeter.
Tom 52. We have a citizen that lives at 1 in Northwest 47. Saw them running past her house, taking off their shirt. 3 black males, 20s to 30s.
Okay, we believe suspects 3
My
males,
portable
20s,
radio
30s.
was just constantly busy. You'd hear officers report talking to citizens that they had seen these people. This was a pretty good help because it confirmed your belief that you were going in the right direction. We were getting closer up into the area where the officers were reporting that citizens had seen these guys. And all of a sudden I could see Chase's body language change. He began winning the suspects.
Moving in the area, you want it roving or on a quadrant?
Come on, Jim.
That last unit was
Had a lot of officers out on foot, a lot of citizens out there, but criminals, when they're being chased, put off a little bit different scent. An experienced police dog like Chase be able to pick it out. It's pretty certain that this time that we were real close to him.
I'm talking to this guy down here. Have you already talked to this person right down here? Okay, you said he saw 2 black males up there less than 5 minutes ago in the bushes up there. Where? K9 11, yeah, K9 7, come up here with me. We're coming into a wooded area.
K9 11.
Independent confirmation. Trails heading northeast.
I felt that we had maybe overshot him in the brush where we'd come through. So I took Chase and we worked our way back down through the brush there. At this time, Wilson picked up a shotgun from one of the containment officers. I knew immediately that Chase had made a find. They'd shot a policeman. I'm sure they wouldn't hesitate to shoot the dog. And so I'd given him the attack command, and I ran directly towards where Chase was.
I'm heading up to 222's location, and we'll give you a roll call there if we get things organized. Okay, receive. Location.
Just down the hill from First Northwest and Northwest Market.
Hand down here!
31 minutes after Officer Mark Sigfrinius was shot, 3 suspects were arrested. One was found guilty of attempted murder. The other 2 had lesser charges dismissed because they testified against him.
602 is the supervisor on the scene. Unit standby. Are all 3 suspects in custody?
Get down.
All 3 suspects are in custody.
I don't think that Chase has ever made a more important arrest or a more important capture than this one here. Those are the ones you don't want to get away.
There was a doctor standing there, and I asked him, "What's wrong with me?" And he says, "Well, when you were shot, the bullet, ended up in your spine and you're paralyzed from the waist down." And I said, "Oh, good." I said, "What's the chances of me walking again?" He said, "Well, medically speaking, not much of a chance at all."
4 months later, Mark is in physical therapy. The bullet is still in his spine. His wife, Priscilla, is also learning to cope.
You live with a police officer for so many years, you expect that something might happen. But when I stop and think that this is the man that I'm married to, I love, he's always been real considerate and did things for me. He was the one that would get up and get the glass of water. Well, now it's my turn to get up and get it. So we're taking turns.
There was many times when I felt like giving up. I felt that the pain was too great, and it would have been a lot easier to die. Every day gets better, and you just try to make it a challenge, and it is a challenge, no doubt about it.
I want to do something that helps people.
Volunteers have helped reconstruct Mark and Priscilla's house to make it totally accessible by wheelchair.
There has been a lot of people who have sent donations, which has helped. We wouldn't be able to do it if we hadn't had the donations, and it bothers me that there are other handicapped people out there. I don't know how they do it. As far as the future, that's just something we're going to have to see what happens when we get there.
The driving force behind the remodeling is a family friend, Earl Kruger.
I think this is my way of thanking Mark and the rest of the police, the firemen, whoever, for the job they do, and to show them that the rest of us civilian folk really do care.
As far as the citizen input into the Mark Sigfrinius shooting, I give them a 10 on a scale of 10. The citizens of Seattle, they were right there, not only from the time Mark was shot, but all the way through his rehabilitation in the hospital and going home. But they stayed there, and they says, this is the kind of car that it was. This is what they looked like. This is where they went. We even had that one man follow them and come back and tell us, this is where they left the car. It kind of gives me, as a Seattle police officer, a good feeling.
When I was a small child, I always wanted to become a police officer. It was just something that I always wanted to do, and I did. Probably my favorite part was riding motorcycles. I couldn't believe that they would actually pay me to ride a bike, and I like that. You want to walk, you want to get up, you want to do the things you used to do, and it doesn't work. And you just have to make it a challenge that, I'm going to do as many things as I can. I've already been fishing, I'm going to go flying. I'm going to do a lot of the stuff I would do when I was walking. It just have to be rolling rather than walking. I'm going to ride a motorcycle again. It might have to be a three-wheeler, but I'm going to do it. Nothing's going to stop me.
Next.
My mother said, Sherelle has gotten into Graham's heart medication. She's vomiting. Come now.
I'm on my way.
My heart started pounding because I knew Sherelle was a little girl.
Every year, more than 4,000 people in this country die from poisoning or accidental drug overdoses. On December 4th, 1986, one family in Windham, Connecticut, learned just how dangerous a substance can be when it falls into the wrong hands.
We were babysitting my granddaughter, Sherelle, because my daughter was in the hospital having another baby. I thought this was going to be great because I can have a whole lot of time with her.
2-year-old Sherelle was staying at the house where her grandmother Sarah Bador and Sarah's elderly mother lived. Sherelle's blind 82-year-old great-grandmother had a heart condition and took digoxin, a prescription medication to increase the force of her heartbeat.
Medication was left out because of her handicap. We always had it on the kitchen table where she could get at it. I had left Sherelle in the living room playing and had gone upstairs for a couple of minutes to get dressed. Mom, what happened?
Oh, Sherelle's sick.
I found Sherelle in Mom's arms over the kitchen sink vomiting. I did not know what the problem was at that time. I thought maybe it could be a touch of the flu coming on or something.
Sarah called her other daughter, Cheryl, who worked just down the street.
My mother said, Sherelle has gotten into Graham's heart medication. She's vomiting. Come now. I'm on my way. My heart started pounding because I knew Sherelle was a little girl, and I knew that my grandmother's medication all was rather serious because of her heart problems. At that point, we still didn't know how much medication she had taken, and I just started talking to her immediately and kept trying to get her to tell me exactly what it was that she had done. She just kept repeating, I took my medicine.
They decided it would be quickest to drive the 5 miles to the nearest hospital themselves.
I knew that getting her to the hospital as soon as possible was the most important thing.
When we continue.
When they actually had her packaged up on the stretcher and they put her into this helicopter, I didn't think that I'd see her alive again. She took some of my grandmother's heart medication. When did this happen? About 45 minutes
They got
ago.
Sherelle to Windham Hospital within 10 minutes, where Dr. Herb Gray was in charge of the emergency room.
The first thing we wanted to do was get her on a cardiac monitor in order to determine if she had any apparent serious rhythm disturbance. The problem with digoxin is that it can have profound effects on the heart, including slowing the heart or cardiac arrest even.
I think what we need to do now is get
The time-release medication had begun to take effect. Sherelle's heartbeat was slowly being suppressed. It was critical that they find out as soon as possible just how much had gotten into her system.
Hold tight. You're doing fine.
The blood tests that we obtained showed that she had indeed ingested digoxin, and also that her levels were 4 to 5 times toxic level.
You're going to have to sit up and you're going to have to try to drink a little something, okay? It'll help.
In an attempt to lower the dangerous levels of the drug in Sherelle's system, she was given a special mixture of activated charcoal.
Activated charcoal is a specially treated charcoal which binds medicine that's in the gastrointestinal tract and therefore prevents it from being absorbed into the bloodstream.
Real important that she get all she can.
Drink it all.
Some of it stayed down for probably 3 or 4 minutes, and then she just vomited it all up again. So it really didn't have a chance to do anything that it was supposed to do.
Sherelle's condition continued to deteriorate. She seemed to be showing no signs of improving.
Watching the heart monitor and watching her blood pressure go up and down, I was becoming more and more anxious because I knew whatever it was that we were doing wasn't enough.
We're going to take good care of you.
The decision was made to transfer her to Hartford Hospital's pediatric cardiology unit.
When they actually had her packaged up on the stretcher and Lifestar door was open, and they put her into this helicopter and closed the door. I didn't think that I'd see her alive again.
Sherelle's father, Ron, was contacted at work and told of her serious condition.
I don't know how I got from work to Hartford to see my daughter. I don't even remember half of the driving. I was just going. Too many things going through my head. I just couldn't believe that it was actually really happening, and that I thought I was going to wake up and this was all just a bad dream. Lifestar was landing in the parking lot as I came in. I tried to get towards the helicopter, and security wouldn't let me nowhere near it. I saw them take her out on a stretcher. Then is when it hit me that she was in rough shape and in for her fight of her life. I was yelling and screaming, calling for my daughter, just calling out, "Sherelle, Daddy loves you. Please don't leave me."
Ron managed to get through to his wife, Pam, at another hospital where she had just delivered a baby boy.
He then had told me that something had happened to our daughter, that she had taken Grandma's heart medication. So that's when I had asked him, is she dead or alive? And he says right now she's alive, but we don't know if she's going to make it or not. At that point, I thought I had just given birth to one child, and I thought that my other child was being taken away from me.
You've got to take care of yourself right now, so when you get out, you can be...
Cheryl went to the hospital to comfort her sister.
She looked up when I came through the door, and she started to cry. And I just went over to her, and I held her, and I said, "Pam," I said, "she's going to be okay. She's going to be all right." But none of us knew if she was or she wasn't.
And then you can be with her.
With each passing hour, the levels of the drug in Sherelle's bloodstream increased. But there was nothing more they could do. Unless the drug's levels became lethal, an antidote could itself be toxic.
Just watching her with all this equipment, watching her heartbeat on the screen, praying that she wouldn't leave us. And what was I going to do to myself for not spending the time that I should have spent with my daughter?
Sometime in the night, the levels of the drug finally peaked. They would not need the antidote.
It was about 2 in the morning when the nurse had come in and told me that I could go in and see my daughter. They didn't even have to tell me twice. I was gone. I stayed at her bedside with her for quite a while, and she sat up. She took a drink of ginger ale for me, and we held each other for a while. She gave me a pretty good hug for a little kid.
Ron brought the good news to his wife, but it was 2 days before she was able to see her daughter.
As soon as she saw me, she had a big smile on her face and said, "Mommy," and put her arms out for a hug. And I went over and gave her a big hug and cried.
4 years later, Sherelle has no permanent after effects from the accidental overdose that nearly took her life.
Looking at her today, you wouldn't know that anything ever happened. She's healthy, active, can't keep her down. She's just one bouncing, beautiful girl, that's it.
There's times where she may be sleeping in bed at night, and I just think back on the accident, and I'll just go in bed and lay next to her and rub her. Just so thankful she is with us today.
When the grandchildren come to visit, grandparents are not always aware of what may be of danger to children. Not having children around, it's easy to forget that children are inquisitive and are going to touch things that they should not touch.
Consider the fact that you have a lot of poisons that you normally use in your day-to-day activities, mostly cleaning solutions or cleaning products which will be under the sink in your kitchen or under the sink in the bathroom, both areas which are readily accessible to a toddler, someone who's exploring their world.
God didn't want her right now, and apparently she wasn't ready to go. And to me, she was my miracle child. She has a long life ahead of her to live yet.
As parents, we can't always protect our children, but we can teach them the basics of safety and how to call for help. This series is dedicated to those heroes who risk their own lives to save the life of another. I'm William Shatner. Join me again next week for more true stories on Rescue 911.
Mr. Shapiro, step out of the car, please.